Hello, Eighth, and welcome. This is Mr. A, and Mr. A has time traveled into the year 1921. Behind me, as you can see, is the wonderful historical Chinese theater in Hollywood. So we are here on a great journey into history. So right here on Hollywood Boulevard, we'll be conducting our great lesson. So we would like to begin by reviewing the pages from yesterday. So we're going to review page 728, numbers 1 through 7. You're going to post that with the number wrong on the top. Please add details on to this post. Additionally, you'll have another post where you reflect on some videos, and that will be counted as a quiz grade. But let's journey into these changing times of the 1920s. We will first begin, I'll put up some slides so you can see. Number 1A, prohibition. It's the ban on the manufacture, the sale, and the transportation of liquor anywhere in the United States. It's the top one right here, okay? Began in the 1920s, prohibition was the ban on the manufacture, sale, and transportation of liquor anywhere in the United States. 1B, this is a big one. You may want to put a star here. Carrie Chapman Catt. Carrie Chapman Catt was the head of a National Women's Suffrage Association. She's the head of the National Women's Suffrage Association, who set up the League of Women Voters. She is the one who set up the League of Women Voters. She pushed for women to have equal rights in the sense of voting, have women to have a greater say. C, League of Women Voters, whom she's associated with. C was the organization established in 1920 to promote rights for women. D, friends who speak another language will be great with the pronunciation. Ana Roque de Dupree. She is the leader of the Puerto Rican Women's Crusade for the Vote. She's a leader of the Puerto Rican Women's Crusade for the Vote. So for women to have more rights in the sense of being able to vote as well. E, Alice Paul, you may want to put a star here. This is not the first nor last time you'll hear her name. She was a suffragist leader who called for the Equal Rights Amendment. She's the one who called for the Equal Rights Amendment. Okay. The next friend that you will need to know, you may want to put a star next to F, Equal Rights Amendment, and I'll pull that up here so you can see that too. Okay, Equal Rights Amendment, it stated that no rights should be denied or abridged by the United States based on the account of being a man or a woman. So it's a constitutional amendment that was proposed in 1923, okay? And it intended to prohibit discrimination on the basis of gender. Next would be Henry Ford, G. It's a big one to know, the assembly line associated very deeply here with Henry Ford. We should know that he was the auto industry leader who introduced the assembly line for a greater production, okay? And now you're able to build the automobile at a much faster rate. So it's costing him less to make the vehicle, make the car, the Model T specifically, as you could see here. It's costing him less. It drops from $850 to $290. So now his company, right, Ford, can go ahead and sell it to you at a more reasonable rate, making the vehicle now available to not just the rich, but anybody in the United States, would be able to have at least the opportunity or chance to purchase one. H, Charlie Chaplin, we spoke about him very briefly. There's a lot we can say about him, okay? He's a comedian who became a popular star of the silent film era. One of the greatest comedians of all time, not just opinion, but fact. Many individuals will tell you that he is one of so many that reached such great fame through silent pictures But once sound started to come in, he wasn't as popular in sound pictures as he was in silent pictures. And you're going to see that for a lot of individuals in history. Mary Pickford is another one. There's a great film on your days off, if you wanted to. It's called Sunset Boulevard. It's a fantastic film, and it's about those forgotten stars in Hollywood when sound came into play. It's a pretty interesting one for anybody who would like to check it out. Okay, 2A, bootleggers. Bootleggers, these are smugglers who sometimes hid bottles of liquor in their boots. Smugglers who hid bottles of liquor in their boots. So it's the illegal, right? Illegal, not just production, but also sale of liquor. You see an increase of crime. Repeal is to overturn. Repeal is to overturn. The 18th Amendment, okay, would be overturned. Suburb, I'll pull up what I have here so you can have that. Make sure you have that for suburb. So suburb should be as follows. Okay. A suburb is a community located outside the city. So now people had automobiles. They could drive to their job in the city, even though it was miles away. Okay, something that could not have been done before. 3 is a big one. I mean, we should all know this by now, right? We've spoken about it so many times, so I hope we're all clear on this. 3, why did Prohibition fail? Anything along the lines of many people did not support the law, and many people actually broke the law, millions broke the law, would be acceptable. You should have that. The government feared that if people were breaking this law and getting away with it, what other laws would they attempt to break and get away with too? Something to think about. Okay. Again, the other one, 4, you should be pretty good on this one too, which is why I'm not spending a lot of time on it because we already did. How did the 19th Amendment change women's lives? Well, it gave women the right to vote. It gave women the right to vote. It gave women the right to become more educated in politics, become more active in politics. It sets the stone for women having careers in politics. Right here, 2 women governors elected shortly after, Ross and Ferguson. That's essential to know because it's giving women a greater say, not just to vote, but to become more educated in voting and to have their own political careers too. 5A, how did the automobile affect the economy? Okay, anything along the lines of, number 1, that it provided new jobs. Okay, it provided new jobs, provided more jobs to Americans. New automobile-related services became a part of the economy. So think about even to the present day. Mom, dad, grandpa, guardian, somebody may need to bring their automobile to the mechanic or buy a new part or, change the oil, change the tire. So all of a sudden you have this new industry that's evolving with the creation, yes, of the automobile, but even more so with Henry Ford's assembly line that makes automobiles available to the average American. D, discuss the effect of radio and movies on culture during the 1920s. Okay, well, behind me we have the Chinese theater. It's changed names several times. Its original name would be Grauman's Chinese Theater. It becomes this great movie palace. And you have many great stars who would put their handprints in front of this great, magnificent structure. If you've ever been there, you've seen it. There's also many great stars on the Walk of Fame as well that has continued to this day. And that's just because of America's obsession with film. Celebrities, we are so big on that right now. There's a giant celebrity craze. And this begins during that time period. Radio stars and film stars as well. Radio created a new lifestyle. Families begin to gather around the radio and listen to these broadcasts. Just know that radios weren't just for music, okay? We might think of radios just for music right now, but radios were not just for music back then, okay? Radios were also for news, for television shows, soap operas. That would be your entertainment. So instead of gathering around the TV or your silly device or Netflix. The big technology was the radio, okay? And movies, Nickelodeons, right? Nickelodeons, you pay a nickel to go to the movies. Movies gave people across the nation a common experience. While the films were black and white, they had no sound. A pianist would actually have to play the music live in the theater, okay? Musicians live in theater. Even though you might say, Mr. A, that looks really boring, that was a new phenomenon that was occurring during the time period. It's something people had never seen before and were just fascinated with. It's a new type of entertainment, okay? Think about when a new application might come out, right? We are fascinated with the application. Well, think about how fascinated people were with movies at the time. The next one would be as follows. Main idea. A surge of new ideas and products and new popular culture changed the values and customs of Americans during the 1920s. Discuss two ideas that changed the way Americans lived during the 1920s. You can have a variety of different ideas here, okay? You could talk about women's suffrage. You could talk about the freedom that individuals would have now with the automobile. You could talk about the ideas of a mass culture. You could talk about new technologies, the washing machine, the refrigerator. Okay, anything along those lines would be acceptable. Film, bringing people into theaters. The radio, bringing families together. Any of these can be listed there. How did changes in technology contribute to new ways of life during the 1920s? So how did technology change the way of life? Okay, number one, the automobile changed the way people traveled. So people would go around, and there weren't as many, obviously as many cars as we have today, so people would go around for a drive, especially on Sundays for a Sunday drive, and just go around and spend some leisure time in their automobile. The automobile industry also leads to new jobs, as I told you. Okay, the radio, television, film, they're new forms of entertainment, but they're also new forms of income for so many individuals. Not just the people who work in the movie theaters, not just the people who work at the, to build radios, but also these great entertainers as well. So you're talking about a tremendous amount of new jobs, new opportunities. Let me know if you have any questions. Number wrong on the top. This is part one. Part two, some video reflections as a quiz from Hollywood. This is Mr. A. This is 1921. And now it's 2020. Take care.